everyone. On behalf of Modak Academy, I warmly welcome you all to today's international webinar. I am Pritili Modak, your host for this session, and it is my privilege to guide you through this enriching academic event. Today's topic is emotional intelligence, a vital skill that empowers individuals to understand, manage, and effectively express emotion while fostering healthy relationships, sound decision making, and personal as well as professional success. Now, before inviting our esteemed speaker, it is my privilege to introduce her to our audience. Pankhuri Sharma is an accomplished academician, researcher, and certified emotional intelligence trainer and coach. She is currently serving as an assistant professor in organizational behavior and human resources management at the UPES School of Business, Dehradhun, while also pursuing her PhD in management. Her doctoral research focuses on organizational citizenship behavior among academicians, reflecting her deep interest in understanding human behavior and workplace effectiveness. With over a decade of experience in teaching, research, academic mentoring, and institutional development, Ms. Sharma has been associated with renowned institutions including UPES Dehradhun, Army Institute of Management Calcutta, MDI Gurgaon, and the Indian Institute of Management Calcutta. Her areas of expertise include organizational behavior, human resources management, emotional intelligence, workplace spirituality, employee well-being, leadership development, women's empowerment, and sustainable development goals. She has presented research papers at prestigious national and international conferences hosted by institutions such as IIM Ahmedabad, IIM Ranchi, IIT Kharagpur, and St. Xavier University. Her scholarly contributions encompass themes such as workplace spirituality, work life balance, workforce agility, women's empowerment, and organizational citizenship behavior. She has also served as a session chair at international academic conferences and has delivered webinar and training sessions for learners and professionals across India and abroad. Known for her learner-centered approach, interdisciplinary perspective, and passion for professional and personal development. She continues to inspire students and professionals alike through her teaching, research, and coaching initiatives. We are truly delighted to have such a distinguished speaker with us today. Please join me in extending a warm welcome to Pankhuri Sharma ma'am as she shares her insights on the highly relevant and transformative topic, emotional intelligence. Thank you for joining us and over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much for such a warm welcome. I was so surprised and I'm so happy that you was as a speaker telling me about my things. It seems like that I have relived every moment. Thank you so very much. And I truly feel and I truly wish you that you're doing a commendable job and keep on doing that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
A very warm good evening to everyone. A very thorough, I would say, a welcome has been given. But I think in this teaching journey so far, a good amount of learning is still required. I believe that I'm a lifelong learner, and I wish that every single day and every single moment teach me. When we talk about emotional intelligence and when we talk about something which is what I would say, it's an everyday deal, it's like not a part of any work, not a part of any particular decision, not a part of any particular work that you need to complete. Emotions are something which is always there. Emotions are something which plays an important role. Emotions are something which is consumable and also offered to people in every second of moment. Now, with this session, definitely you will get a little understanding about how to be more mindful and meaningful. Obviously, nobody can tell how to handle your emotions, because emotions is something, uh, a kind of a prospect which is developed through personality, through different traits, through different conditioning, through different ideology. But it is something which is very much there in our control. I always dedicate my session named Srishti last year also, because I believe that the way this entire world is getting formed, in the same manner, an individual form their emotions every single day, in and out. When we talk about emotional intelligence, it is very important for everyone to understand that why we need to understand about emotional intelligence. And do we really need to understand about emotional intelligence? Do you think that anybody can teach you emotional intelligence? But yeah, anyone who is in your surrounding or in your proximity can definitely tell you that how it is important to know about your emotions. When we talk about emotions, it is very important for us to understand that every single time, everything is very uncertain in nature. We are in VUCA world, where everything is volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. And when we are not clear about that what is going to be there in the next moment, we don't know how to behave in the present moment. Like the generation which is coming, I'm a millennial, but as an academician, I'm teaching Generation Z, Generation Alpha. They're very uncertain, they're very unpredictable. And when they are unpredictable, how it is impacting on us as an academician, how their behavior is impacting my behavior, or how my behavior is adding value in their personality. That matters the most to me as an academician. But I don't know that whatever the emotions I am showing, or the way I am showing my emotion, is it okay for the other person to observe in the same manner? Because it is very unpredictable. If we talk about 6 years ago when COVID hit, we were not prepared about it. We were very uncertain how to behave, how it is important to understand this thing that everything is going to be from work for home. And especially women like me, it was really hard for me to handle work from home and work for home. We were talking about new normal. Pandemic came and a new normal comes. But no, it comes with lot of things, and it is still carrying a lot of weightage. Now, most of you who are listening to me must be in any of their capacity. They are working for something. And even if they are not working for something, if there are people who are not working, they are doing some kind of a, any kind of a work which gives them a kind of an happiness, satisfaction. But in that entire dynamics, how satisfied you are with your emotions, that is very important. And why do people thrive when they struggle? AI is definitely a competitor for a human, I would say. The way we are consuming and the way AI want us to get consumed, it is very different. We are not understanding that how mechanical we are becoming and how mechanical our emotions are becoming. Everyone says that no, AI has given us a lot of knowledge. AI is creating, or, you know, removing that gap. But if we introspect ourselves, do you really think that the way AI is coming, it is still going to save our emotions? When we talk about emotions, it's with the AI, it's like a real Kurukshetra. Everybody knows about Mahabharat. Everybody knows about Mahabharat. If you talk about Mahabharat, the first thing comes into your mind is Krishna, then Arjun, and then Suyodhan. I'm not saying Duryodhan, I'm saying Suyodhan. Arjun, we always see as a person who was not very much aware, but there was a mentor, and then a mentor tries to make him understand that no, you have to channelize your energy. On the other side, Suyodhan, if you see the meaning of Suyodhan, the person who fights well. But on the other side, he is also having the same emotion. He also went to Krishna to make ask him that how and the way I want to perform, I want to win. He was very clear on his mind that I want to win. But there are way of emotions which helps you to win the war. And then he actually utilized his own pride in that manner that rather than becoming the wisest man in the fight, he become that person who wants to win the war either by hook or by crook. When we talk about Arjuna, he went to Krishna, and if I recall the episode where Krishna was sleeping, lying on his bed, and Duryodhan came, and then Arjun came. And then Krishna said, I will listen to that one person who I can see. So Arjun was sitting nearby his feet, and Duryodhan was sitting nearby his head, standing, I would say. And then the moment he saw Arjuna, and he said, ask whatever you want to ask. And then he said, I just want you. And then on the other side, he said, I want the entire army. Now, if you can make out a difference between two people who was interested in fighting for a war, they were very clear that what exactly they want. Because Arjuna was self aware about this thing that he want a good instructor, a good mentor. But Duryodhan thinks that he knows everything. So when as an individual, if we started understanding this thing that I know everything, then I won't be able to understand about my anger. I won't be able to understand about my anxiety because I never want to see my anger and anxiety when I'm consumed by pride. So it's very important for us as an individual to understand that how I am channelizing my energy and how I am channelizing my emotions. But before that, I need to be aware about that what kind of an emotions I have because most of the time we are reacting, we are not responding. Most of the time in social conditioning, most of the time we are just reacting. The weather is not good, and if the other person just asks two more questions, I react. I'm not happy with the weather. I'm not happy with the meeting. I'm not happy with the communication what I had just now over the phone. But how it is going to how it is impacting me, I'm not realizing. I'm just reacting because some other person just asked me a simple question that what is the time. I have seen people in my capacity, they are so much angry with all the things what is happening, and then they are reacting. And if we are reacting most of the time, when you see in the organization, you will not find people are very much having that clarity that how to handle pressure. The moment the pressure come, they accelerate it. And then you will understand that what kind of a leader they are or what kind of a person they are. The moment they got in any kind of pressure, they just accelerate it. No, give it to someone else. But why you want to do that? Can't you handle pressure? Because pressure is going to affect you. If it is going to affect you, it is also going to affect the other person. So it is very much important for an individual to understand this thing very deeply, that if the pressure is coming, it is very important to remove the self doubt. But how I'm going to do that? Because most of the time, 24 hours, I am getting consumed by some other person. Is I'm talking to myself? Is I'm doing an introspection? When Arjuna has done the introspection, he has realized this thing that what exactly he wants. Was having a clear confusion that why this war need to be there. I don't want to do the war. I can leave everything, but I can't fight with my brother. And then there is a person, the wise person came and he make him understand that it is very important to fight for the right dharma, to fight for the right thing. So if you are approaching anything outside your personality, it is very important for you to build your own personality first. Because the real Kurukshetra is not outside, it is inside. It is very important for you to understand that how you need to handle anxiety. And it is not possible that if any people say there are a lot of emotional intelligence certified coach I have met and they said meditation help you. No, it is not possible. It is not possible. It is not possible that it take time, because we always have a monkey mind, and from monkey mind to monk mind, it takes a lot of effort. When you are sitting for a meditation and if you're asking that, no, can I just hold my mind? It is not possible. Can I just hold my thought? It is not possible. Can I just hold my emotions? It is not possible. But what is very much important for as an individual to understand is to be more mindful. And this is an exercise that everybody should do. We will definitely talk more on this. If I ask you, before I move to my other sides, which I want to show through this presentation, any one of you can tell me which emotions challenge them the most. Anybody? Anyone can unmute themselves and can say which emotion challenges them the most. Yes, anyone? They can write in the chat also.
Emotion of relationship.
Emotions of relationship. So the emotions which you are having in a relationship, or shall I frame it in that manner, ma'am? Emotions in any kind of an associationship, either it's a relationship or with anyone. May I reframe it in that manner? Ma'am, can you hear me?
Yes, madam.
Yeah, yeah. Anybody else who wants to add which emotions challenge them the most?
Expectation.
Expectation. Okay. Hmm. Okay, that's very fine. I mean, like, usually it is an expectation, and if it is coming from a very near one, it hurts the most. If it is coming from your neighbors, also it is going to hurt the most. But it's just that the parabola of emotions would be high and low, or maybe high or medium. Usually when you see stress, it is something which comes from others. It is not something which, which is an internal thing. It is not something like that. It is always from others. As what Tulsi ma'am said, that expectations, or something which is I'm expecting in a relationship, gives me the emotional challenge. And that's true, because when you talk about as a female, they are more emotionally involved, because they believe in micromanagement. They believe in, you know I'm doing my work, and on the other side I'm managing the home, and I make sure that I'll do perfect in both the manner, and perfect at both the places, and she tries her level best to do that. But on the other side, when she's expecting the other gender, the opposite gender, or even at their professional space, when they're expecting the other people to understand the situation, they will find that no, it is not going along with the expectations. And when it is not going along with the expectation, definitely it gives them that kind of a stress. And when we see the expectation, it creates all the challenges what I have mentioned. When you are having an expectation, you overthink. When you are overthink, you think that this person is not going to behave in the same manner. Then there is a fear of failure. When there is a fear of failure, it gives you some kind of a anger. Oh, it's going to be like this. And then it creates an impact on your emotions, panic behavior. You are going to have anxiety, and then it creates a stress. It leads to stress. So when you talk about expectation, of course, it's not something that you will not have it from people. I'm not saying that it is not possible for you to not have expectation from people. Obviously, you're human. We all are human, and we all have an expectation from people. Some who doesn't like when one person is getting the appreciation? Who is not liking that? Everybody likes it. But on the other side, the question need to be asked not to the other person. The question need to be asked to ourselves: why? Why the other person's expectation or the other person's appreciation gives me happiness? Why I'm so dependent on someone? Why I want to be into that frame that if other person will appreciate me, then only I'll be happy. Of course, it is not something which could be controlled in a day, or which could be managed in a day. But managing your understanding for this particular behavior is called emotional intelligence. You need to understand this thing, that what exactly the emotional intelligence. Emotions, when we are keeping it to ourselves, it's an individual thing. But it is coming from the social intelligence. Society wants us to behave in some specific norms, in some specific particular structured way that you need to, or in a particular structured way that you need to behave. There's a particular norms that you need to follow. If you don't follow that, it is going to affect you. So the emotional intelligence is a very new and a very coined term which comes through a global revolution. But when you see it in the 1900, the term social conditioning comes into the picture first. That how one should behave in the organization. In an organization, you can't like everyone. Just like an academician cannot like every student or vice versa, same goes for every organization. It is very important for us to understand that why we need to understand about emotional intelligence, because there is a certain way of behavior that we need to follow in society. So that's why we are understanding the meaning of emotional intelligence. Otherwise, there is no need to understand about emotional intelligence. Because what ma'am has said, that expectation gives stress, or expectation creates an emotional challenge, right? How the expectation is affecting me, that is creating an impact. But who, with whom I'm having an expectation? There's another person, there's another society, there are a group of people. Who all are they? They are the part of the society. So I need to understand about this thing, that how my intelligence has to be very strong at societal level. Then only I can say this thing, that I'm emotionally intelligent. If I just say this thing that I'm emotionally intelligent, no. Yes, I can say this thing. I'm mindful with my emotions. I'm very, very mindful with my emotion. I'll just give you a very, very small example here. You just see somebody has dropped a message in the WhatsApp. They have seen the blue tick and the other person has not replied for 2 days. It gives you some kind of a stress. Why? Maybe the other person is busy. Maybe the other person is occupied. Maybe the other person has overread your message and then forget to reply. Now it's just understand this thing. That's a very basic thing. You could have called the other person, or maybe the other person has missed your call also. Now, what will you do? You can drop a message. That's the first thing. Or you can block the person. That's the second thing. First one will work. Wait, patience. That's the beauty of the personality. But usually we don't do that, because most of the time the world has made us to believe that everything has to be on the tips. And why we want that? Just because this mobile phone has created a psyche in that manner, that the way we are expecting the Google to behave, we are expecting the human also to behave. Just see, if you have any doubt, you just go to Google, type it, you'll get the answer. But can you do the same behavior with the human? No. But the psyche has been updated, created in that manner, that we expected that it is very important to always be always behaving in that manner, that it should be coming in a second. People should reply me in a second. People should pick up my call in a second. Why? I need to understand this thing, that the way I am building myself is not the right way. I cannot expect human to behave in that manner, the way these machines are doing for me. I cannot do that. And if I have to manage it wisely, it is very important for me as an individual to understand that I have to be very aware about my emotion and regulate my anger in the best manner, that it should not create an anxiety and it should not impact my thinking. Then only I will not have a fear of failure. I'm talking about the same thing here, but in a more structured manner. If you see that these are the five guardians of Srishti, that's an inner outer world which says that is I am really aware about myself, is I am actually aware about my behavior, because nobody is going to tell that, right? If you see a child born and we give a name to that child, do we really ask that child that you like the name? But we had given it. If we have given the name, we also tries to make the other person understand the behavior, because this is how I have been projected and this is how I'm going to give the same projection to the upcoming generation. If my mother has given this thing to me, I also do the same. But do as an individual, I have asked this question as this is the way I should behave. My name has been given by my parents, absolutely fine. But why we are not allowing the other kid to choose their name? Because if they know that this is the name they are carrying, they'll be more meaningful with the behavior of their personalities. I'm just giving you a very simple example. Might be some people are not okay with that. Maybe some people will say no. It's a ritual that we have to follow. But on the other side, does ritual always build a good character? That itself has a question to ask. But is awareness may help an individual to grow, to build a good character or to build a good personality, because then an individual will have an understanding that this is right and this is wrong. Because most of the time, we are just telling other person how to behave. And when we are telling other person how to behave, it is not possible that other person will understand that how actually I as an individual to behave, because I am not aware about myself, because I did not allow myself to understand that what exactly I want. And when we don't know how, when, where I have to behave, then I'll not able to regulate my emotion at any cost. At any cost. And why I'm saying this thing, because this is the first particular prospect of a societal behavior, self awareness. There's a uh, very fancy terms which comes, I've heard it and I've read it in the newspaper, social animal. It is like you are talking to everyone. That's fine. You can talk to everyone. How does it going to make a difference? It's fine. But are you being meaningful with the conversation what you are doing? Are you really aware about yourself that what kind of a conversation you are doing? With one person you're talking about AI, and with the second person you're talking about your failure in your exams, and with the other person you are talking about the food, with the other person you're talking about something else. As an individual, do I really know that how I have to channelize my energy? We really don't know. Because when we talk about self awareness, the first thing as an individual for us to understand is to be very aware about myself, that what kind of a conversation I'm doing and with whom I'm doing. Is my conversation is impacting my psyche? Is my conversation is creating any mindful impact or a meaningful impact in building my character or adding the productivity? I don't know. And on the other side, if I'm not aware, how will I regulate? It is very important for me to do a regulation on myself, to put a principles on myself. Mostly people says, I'll be on time. I'll complete this task by today. I have made a to-do list. But on suddenly we just move to some other work, and then We are just wasting our time in, uh, you know, baseless communication or a conversation. And then we just put a blame on our boss that I didn't get time because I was so occupied. Because we were not being mindful at what we are doing. We're just doing it because survival of the fittest. It's very important to for me to survive. That's fine. But on the other side, is I am surviving in the right manner? Is this is a way I should survive? Because everyone can survive. But on the other side, is I am feeling a joy of a moment in whatever work I'm doing. That matters the most. I'm not saying that whatever you're doing will satisfy you, but I'm saying if it is giving you a joy of movement, it gives that kind of a satisfaction what you are looking for. And that is the third guardian of srishti is motivation. But if I'm doing a work with fear, if I'm doing a work with anxiety, if I'm doing a work with stress, I'll not be able to complete any kind of a work with intrinsic motivation. And if I don't have motivation, I cannot be empathetic with other people. I've seen people shouting at waiters in hotel. I've seen people shouting at bus stop. I've seen people shouting at airport when they are standing in the queue. I've seen people shouting at the trial room in malls. Why? What is the point? Why are you shouting? What is the point of shouting? Have you ever regulated yourself in that manner that this is not a way you should behave? If somebody just break a queue, people start shouting like anything. It's okay. We can wait for another 2, 3 minutes. It's fine. And if you don't want to wait, it's perfectly fine. With a very civil behavior, you can say this thing to the other person that you are breaking the queue. But on the other side, if we are not regulated with our behavior, we don't have the motivation to learn civil behavior. Most of the time, we are just reacting, we are not responding. And when we are, most of the time, when we are reacting, we cannot build a good relationship. Going back to the first question, what ma'am has said, that expectation from relationship, when we don't know when to stop, it is going to hurt. And when we know when to stop, then it gives us an understanding that you were doing an extra. I'm not saying leaving a relationship is the best solution. I'm not saying that. But it is very important for us as an individual to understand when to stop. And in a very civil, polite manner, one can stop. And then it is a beauty of the management. It is a beauty of a management to manage yourself. There is a very beautiful definition of a management. That what do you mean by management? It say it's the art of getting things done by others. Now just keep this definition on yourself. That when you get an understanding of management, you got an art of controlling your emotions so that you can do the things which will help you to regulate your emotion more in a more structured manner. It's very important for us to understand that these five guardians of Srishti, or these five guardians of building a Srishti, will help you to lead a, or will help you to be, make you to be a good, emotional, intelligent person. When you talk about self awareness, I've already given an example about Arjuna, where he was having an confusion before the biggest transformation that has happened. And when we talk about Mahabharat, we always talk about Arjuna and we always talk about one particular incident when Arjuna said कि मुझे कुछ दिखे ना दिखे मछली की आंख जरूर दिख रही है. He was so focused. He was so clear about his goal. And why? Because he was so regulated with his emotion, with his will, that he has to get the things done. And he was not using any other faults or anything which was not moral. He was being very, very clear. He was being very, very moral. He was being very, very transparent with his work. And that's why Arjun became Arjuna, because he was clear with the focus, because he was having a regulation on himself, that how he has to manage himself in that manner that he should get what he is seeking for. When, as an individual, you understand that what you want, you grow. I'm going to tell you a very good incident. When people tries to do something very meaningful in their life, there are a lot of voices comes to you. There are a lot of people tell you that you will not do that thing, and you will find those people who are giving you this kind of a gyan that you can't do this thing. They have never tried, they never even thought of doing that. And on the other side, how it is going to impact you, it is on you. They will tell you a lot of things, that this is not possible, and this is going to be the problem, and this is going to be the major things, and this is how you have built yourself, how it is going to impact you. All those things will come into the picture. But on the other side, if you just listen to them, but you keep a horn here, and then make sure that you will listen and you just take the things out, then only you can call yourself that you have achieved to one particular thing, that is called understanding of emotions. Because somebody is trying to feed you, somebody is trying to tell you that you are wrong, you can't do that, you don't have a caliber, you will be a failure. That's fine, that's perfectly fine. But why it is important for you as an individual to understand that awareness is something which plays an important role. And when you are aware that if you can do that, then you can say yourself that I have managed my emotion, because the voices is going to impact. But how you're dealing with those voices, that matters the most. Definitely, you should be very much clear about your triggers. You should be aware about your strength, recognize it, handle it with the right emotion, and then seek the feedback, not from anyone, but from yourself. If I give you an exercise and if I ask you to rate yourself on this particular thing, there are one, two, three, four parameters that I have mentioned. Rate yourself, understand this thing, that which one is the first and which one is the fifth. You will get an understanding that how self aware you are about your emotions. If you know what triggers you, you can handle yourself. And if you can handle yourself, you can manage the triggers and convert them into the strength. That's absolutely a beauty of a human, and they can do that. When you talk about self regulation, just see Lord Rama. Just understand the thing from Lord Rama. किसी को पता ही नहीं था कि नेक्स्ट डे कोई राजा से रंक होने वाला है. People were not having this understanding. If somebody will tell you that next day you're going to a forest where you're not going to have that food what you're having, we're not going to have the same place where you were living, you're not going to meet your family members for 14 years, is it possible for you to not react? You will not react, you will shout, like we all will shout like anything. Why? Because we as an individual don't know how to handle ourselves when there is a pressure. We always panic. We start shouting, we start seeing our blood pressure, it is going up. And on the other side, we are just shouting at the other people. We are just shouting. We don't know how to handle it. We just want to escalate it because it is affecting me. It is affecting me from head to toe. But if you see Lord Rama, we have never seen Lord Drama, but we have seen people around us. And I can proudly say this thing, that I have seen people around me who know how to handle pressure. And it is a beauty that we need to learn from Lord Rama to maintain the composure even in the pressure. The person who know when to react and when to respond, they can manage it very nicely, that how I have to behave in that one particular situation. Because usually we are just reacting, we are not responding. Why? Because it is very much related to the caliber or the skill what we have as an individual for listening. Because most of the time we are just being a passive listener, not an active listener. Because we only reply for those things which we don't, which we want to reply, but we never reply for the things which is actually required. So it's very important for us to understand this thing, that how we have to regulate ourselves on this particular scale. We don't know how to control our impulsive behavior, but we can do one thing, that the moment the anger is coming, I try to control myself. I try to calm, because even if I react, it is not going to change the situation. I've seen people, they have missed the cab, they have missed the bus, they've missed the metro, they've missed their flight. You can see they're just trembling, they're shivering, they're shouting, they're just moving here to there, they're just tapping their feet. Does it going to help? And it is very easy to say. Frankly speaking to you, as an individual, I myself has reacted, and from 24 hours, exactly like for 16 hours where we are meaningfully, mindfully doing our things, and that 16 hours, most of the time, 10 to 12 hours, we are just reacting. We are not responding. And sometimes we don't even have to react, but we are reacting. So it's very important for us to think before we are either responding, because that is the need of the hour and that is very important, but think before reacting. Because if we know where to change, we will adopt the change. We will definitely adopt the change. And it is very important for us to adopt the change. Because Arjuna was something in Kurukshetra has adopted. But Duryodhan was someone who was very clear on this one particular thing, that I'm not going to change. So very important for us to have that attitude of learning. And in our institute, especially in army, we always focused on one thing which we says, have that attitude of learning, have that persistence behavior, be very resilient with your behavior, that it is very important for you to be more consistent. And when we understand that when I have to handle my anger, we'll able to manage it more deeply, more gracefully, with more maturity. Third one is the motivation. Everybody has seen the movie Three Idiots, right? And everybody remembers the scene where Ranchor Das just simply said to the teacher कि आप लर्निंग पर ज्यादा जोर दीजिए, रोट लर्निंग पर नहीं. And we into the world always make our kids to believe that it is very important for you to learn. But does it give any kind of an outcome that matters the most? So if it is giving any kind of an outcome, the motivation is going to be very high. But on the other side, when we are just having a motivation which is coming from outside, it is not going to stay much. And then it is going to affect me. That's what Ma'am has asked about relationship, even if the person will fulfill your expectation, then you are just affecting yourself by one thing, that this person has done this in this particular situation, he or she has to do it again. And if they are not doing it, then it is you who are getting controlled by their behavior. It's not them who is getting controlled by your behavior. So it's very important for us as an individual to understand that if I just learn the thing from outside for a specific time, I am not going to be satisfied for long term, because I want an excellence, an excellence in everything. And that can only be done when I have a motivation to do, when I have a right motivation to do. When we talk about motivation, are we really optimistic? No. Most of the time, we are pessimistic. Is I'm actually taking an initiative? Is I'm more being persistent? Is I'm learning from the failure? I've never asked this question. I always blame the God, I always blame the situation, I always blame my competitor. I never asked myself. So it is not a fight with the other people, it's a fight between you, which is in the present scenario, and it's a fight between you, the way you want to see into the future. So it's very important for you to understand that when you are talking about emotions, it's a fight between the present person, and it's a fight between the person who can be a great person or who can be a great failure also after 5 years down the line. When we talk about the fourth thing, which is which is one of the major important aspect of the Srishti, is empathy. If you see the movie Tare Zameen Par, and as an academician, I can relate to that movie because we always look for the first bench people. That's the cream. But then I remember what Kalam sir has said, that the best mind sits in the last. But we never want to do that because the first line will help me to get my goals. But as an individual, if I ask myself, did I add any particular outcome into that one particular person, then the question, then the whole game change. So it's very important that the power of understanding is very, very important. As a parent, if you see, remember the movie, as a parent, they never even given a chance to have a meaningful conversation with the people. Most of the time, if somebody has not replied me over the WhatsApp, and in the next day, if I'm meeting them in the office, I'm not going to say hi to them. Why? Because usually we get driven by this in this manner, that they have ignored me. But we don't know that this is something which is coming from my mind. So in the Tare Zameen Par, if you see, the parents' expectation was also same. They were expecting that the younger one will also behave like the elder one, but they are the different personality. But if one person is doing the same behavior the way I'm expecting them to do, you cannot expect that everyone is going to do the same. It is not possible. It is not at all possible. Just like our five fingers are not same, similarly, everyone is not going to behave in the same manner the way I am expecting. It is me who need to understand that I have to be empathetic with the people who are not working according to the need of the hour, or not working according to the things the way I want them to behave, or I want them to do the work. So it's very important to be more empathetic, understand, do an introspection, have a transparent, clear communication. Then only I can say myself that yes, I have an understanding of societal intelligence. These are the empathy scales. Definitely, we want to listen very actively, to be more very active with our work, to be more very active with our understanding of understanding other people, and to be very clear with my feelings, to respect other people's perspective and make other people believe that yes, I'm not just hearing, I'm also interested in putting my feet under your shoes because I want to understand your problems, not upper se, deeply. So it's very important for you as an individual to understand that empathetic scale is very important. Now, when you talk about relationship management, I have purposely taken this movie Chak De because if you remember, there are few scenes which talks about a teamwork behavior. A McDonald's scene where the females are sitting and then they fight together just because there was an Eve teasing that happens, and they make sure that everybody should, have, make them to learn a lesson. Now, when you see that movie, it gives you a very, very, filmy flavor. But if you see it very deeply, it has given us a lesson that when we are not communicating with each other, but if we have a same purpose, we can work together, and then we can work on our emotions, then we can talk over the emotions, and then we can talk for the emotions. So it's very important for a individual to understand that if I am having an expectation from the other gender, or even in my marriage, I'll just take an example that in my marriage, I'm expecting the other person to behave in that particular manner. But if, as an individual, if I have to ask myself that rather than just having an expectation on the other side, if you can talk openly to that person that this is what I am expecting, or this particular thing is creating an impact on me, then I think it will help to lead a good relationship, because then you're putting a brick of a trust here. So it's very important to have a open communication which help to resolve the conflicts. And here in the emotional intelligence, most of the time when we are not having an open communication, it creates a conflict. But when you want to avoid the conflict, you can definitely collaborate effectively, either at your workplace or at your personal space. When we talk about what is the villain in the emotional intelligence, then it is the Ravana syndrome. If you see Ravan, he was a great musician, he was a great author, he was a great astrologer, he was a great warrior. And also on the other side, I would say that he was someone who was having a will to do the things in that manner that it created an impact to that person who was having a great control over the anger with the Lord Rama. He was not aware about his skills, but he was having that understanding that I want to fight with Lord Rama. Now, if you see the Ravana syndrome, these are the things which we as an individual to understand. He was having ego. If you see in most of the scene in Ramayana, where you will find that there is a picture where he has controlled the death. He was so clear that he want to control his death also. And even in one of the Samvad in Ramayana, he talks about it. There are a lot of incidents where you can understand this thing that he has not channelized it in a right manner. If he could have done that, he would have been a different part of the history, and he could have remembered in a very different manner. Everybody knows about Ravana as someone who has taken Sita, but nobody remembers him that he was a great musician, that he was a great author. He was a great writer also. There is a difference, I would say, in the author and the writing. A different kind of writing, even if you see in the literature we have, has been written by Ravana. But there are some kind of traits which he has developed because of his emotions. So we actually don't know that when we are developing our emotions, what kind of emotions we are developing and how it is going to impact. We develop ego, which leads to anger. And why we develop ego? Because we are comparing ourselves. We are becoming jealous with the other things because the other person is having more than me, or maybe the other person is trying to get more than me and I want to control it. And that is leading to, that is because of my insecurity. And that is also because I'm not interested in taking the feedback. If somebody, Mandodari would have informed him, Mandodari has informed him that you should not behave. On the other side, his brother also tries to do that. But he was not interested in listening to them. So it's very important for us to understand that what particular emotions I need to manage and how. And if this emotion is coming, it will lead to this emotion. Do I really want to go to that level which it would create and increases the other emotion? Because ego is something which develops. It is something which is developing every single time. If we achieve something, somebody praised, we are having a pride. If we failed in something, somebody said, we are having that anxiety. If we are not able to handle comparison, we become insecure. So it's very important for us to understand that what emotions that we need to follow and how we need to channelize it. Now, this is from Kurukshetra to corporate, as this particular term I use when I always teach my students, but here I will change the term that from Kurukshetra to corporate I would not say. I would say from Kurukshetra of fighting of the emotions with the outer and inner world, and rather than going to a corporate, leading to a good harmonious life, meaningful life, from Kurukshetra to meaningful life. So it's very important for us to understand that I need to be more self aware. I need to be more resilient like Rama. I need to avoid the ego because Ravana has lost himself because of his ego. I should definitely find a purpose in my life. And last but not the least, if I want to be a good leader, I should allow the other person to speak, like the way we have seen in the movie Kabir Khan. That's one movie that I'm talking about. But as an individual, is I am becoming a Shahrukh for someone? Is I am becoming that one person for someone which allows the other person to open up themselves so that they can bloom under my leadership. So it's very important that first we need to fight with our emotions, and then it will lead to a meaningful life for me. And if I cannot handle my emotion, I cannot give any kind of a joy of movement to any other person, because it's very important for us to manage ourselves, then only we can manage other people. So, the final reflection before I end my session and I would take the question answers round or any kind of a feedback. As an individual, if you have to ask that what will you create through this Srishti program, through this Srishti emotional intelligence program, so you can write it in one piece of paper and you can write in the four things that is a very beautiful exercise we usually do when we are doing emotional intelligence session offline, that is called stop. So S stands for strength, T stands for threats, O stands for opportunity, and P stands for purpose. So if somebody says, I got my purpose, no, purpose can change. So today you are right, liking, you want to write something. Maybe tomorrow you're liking gardening. Day after tomorrow you're like cooking. So you need to find the purpose. What actually giving a joy of a moment to you? So what is the joy of a moment which you are getting right now is going to be the same? No. But yes, the joy of a moment can help you to understand about the opportunity that you can explore as an individual. And then you can understand the threat which affects that joy of a moment, and then you can convert them into your strength. So, this is all from my side. And I'm very, very thankful, especially to the Modak Trainers Academy and all the people who were associated with this. Thank you for giving me a chance. Thank you for allowing me to share a little bit of knowledge what I have. And I'm very much open for the question and answers or any kind of a feedback.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much, ma'am, for your insightful and inspiring lecture on emotional intelligence. We sincerely appreciate your valuable time and the knowledge you have shared with us today.